Welcome to this Arnold Clifford tutorial for modern daily knitting. This tutorial is about joining to work in the round, taking care not to twist when you're using a circular needle, and it's part of our series to accompany modern daily knitting field guide number 18, Beginnings. This lovely field guide contains a range of designs by the fabulous Carida Collins. And this tutorial is going to help you to work the debut pullover, where the body is worked in the round on a circular needle. But you'll also find it a helpful tutorial no matter what project you're working in the round on a circular needle. Knitting pattern instructions quite often say join to work in the round, taking care not to twist. And I'm going to show you today how to do that. First of all though, what do we mean by taking care not to twist? Well, when you join your knitting into the round and you're working round and round, you want to be creating a straightforward tube shape like this one here. However, if you manage to twist your cast on edge so that the stitches go up over the needles and round, then when you start to work in the round, you're going to make a twisted tube like this, which is just going to continue to get bigger and remain twisted. There is no way to untwist that once you've worked a decent amount of fabric. So obviously you really don't want to do that because that's pretty useless. And I'm going to show you how to avoid it. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to avoid the twist when you join in the round. I'm going to show you how to check that your work isn't twisted at the end of the first round. And if you discover it is, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that twist after one round. And then to finish off, I'm going to demonstrate another technique where you can work the first row flat, which just makes it a little bit easier to check whether you're twisted or not. And you may find that tip helpful. If you're watching on YouTube and you hover over the timeline at the bottom of the screen here, then you'll see that the video is divided into chapters and you can jump straight to the section that you need. This tutorial demonstrates being careful not to twist on a circular needle, but if you're using double pointed needles, you'll find we also have a video for that, and there's a link to it in the notes for this video. I've come to the end of casting on my stitches onto the circular needle as I was instructed to in my pattern, and I'm now ready to join into the round and avoid that twist. So this is how I do it. My stitches are all cast on, and in order to join to work in the round, we're going to move the stitches at both ends of the circular needle towards the tips, and then we're going to place a marker for the start of the round. And in order to join, we're just going to knit into that first stitch at the tip of this left needle. So the yarn from the cast on end is in the right hand, in the right needle, and the first stitch cast on is in the left needle. And to join, we're just going to knit into that. But first of all, we need to make sure that the cast on edge isn't twisted. So in order to do that, I'm just going to hold my two ends firmly here, and then I'm going to work along the edge, making sure that at no point does the edge go up and over the needles. Just smoothing it along, and you see here we've got a little bit of a twist, so we're going to keep pushing that twist along until we come to the tip. So we're twisting it round to get rid of that twist. And now, if I knit into that first stitch, I shouldn't have a twist. So I'm just going to double check. If you've ever twisted when you've joined to work in the round, you'll know it's worth just spending a moment at this point to be sure. And if we look all the way around that now, I'm happy that it's not twisted. The good news is though, it's actually very straightforward to sort it out at the end of the first round if it is, and I'll show you how to do that too. So I knit into that first stitch, snug it up. And we're now joined into the round. Our marker shows the start of the round, and we're going to work that round according to the pattern instructions. Here we are finishing off that first round, and when you come to the marker, you'll discover that actually the round is only joined by a single strand of yarn. So at this moment, if it turns out that you have a twist, you can push the twist into that single strand of yarn and get rid of it. But once you've worked another round, you won't be able to do that because you'll have more bits of yarn and you'll end up with a bit of twisted fabric. So at the end of the first round is the perfect spot to check your work. And we're going to check it just as we did before by running all the way along that edge, pushing the edge all the way along, making sure it's flat and not going around the needles. Got a bit of twist here, so I'm pushing it along and it just untwists there with the next bit all the way up to the top. So I'm now happy and confident that it's not twisted and I can carry on working without there being a problem. Alternatively, you might get to this point and discover that you do have a twist. So here's what that would look like. Follow it around, making sure that that edge is just lying flat all the time. So it's all flat all the way around there. Use my finger to keep the bit that's checked in the right place. So that's all flat, it's not going along, not twisting. So we've got a little twist here. We're going to push that up. Because sometimes it looks like you have a twist, and then there's another bit here that will untwist it, but if we untwist that all the way along, we'll see now as we reach the end, it's just going over the top there and there's nothing to untwist it with. But it's easy at this point because we're on that first round. All we need to do is continue to push that twist out and then untwist it into that beginning of the round point there. So we've pushed the twist into that join, and now if we just unflatten it all again, have another look. Ta-da. Now we are all untwisted, we've pushed it into that single strand of yarn and we can carry on knitting in the round without any difficulty. If you're struggling to tell whether that cast on edge is twisted, then one of the things you can do is to work a row flat before you join into the round. And once you've worked a row flat, you've got a bit more fabric on your needles and it's much easier to spot whether you have a twist or not. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Once you've finished casting on, instead of getting the other end of your needle and joining into the round, you're going to turn and work the first row flat. And you can work flat on a circular needle, there's no problem with that whatsoever. You're just going to work into that the stitch you've just finished casting on, and you're going back along the row. So it's not joined to the end there, I can move that out of the way. You're just working along the row and you're going to work that first row without joining. I've finished working the first row of the pattern flat now, and here's my working yarn. Here's the stitches from the beginning of that row, and in order to join to work in the round, I'm going to knit into that to join the two ends. So first of all, I'm going to pop a marker onto my needles, and then before I start work there, I'm going to check that the cast on edge isn't twisted, and you should see it's now much easier to see whether or not we're twisted because we've just got that much more fabric on the needles. So there's the edge and we can see it's lying flat all the way around there. I'm going to just flat, flat, flat all the way around to here and there. and it's not at any stage twisting up and over the needles. It's just flat all the way around. So I'm going to knit into the first stitch and work another round on here. And the great news is that you get another double check, because once you finish that first round that's in the round, so your second pattern, you can check again whether it's twisted, and if it is, you can push it out into that strand of yarn where the round joined in exactly the same way as I showed you previously. We've got our marker in, and here we go now, knitting along, and we've now joined into the round. And as I said, you can check when you get to the end of the round and untwist if needed, but with that extra row on the needles, it should be very straightforward to see that it isn't twisted in the first place. If you've used the trick of working a row flat, you will find that you have a little bit of a gap at the beginning of the round, and all you'll need to do is to use your tail rather than just weaving it in up the back. You can just use that to join the two corners at the start of the round, and it's really no more bother than weaving the end in would have been anyway. So I hope you'll find that helpful. I hope you've got lots of confidence now to cast on for the body of your debut pullover by Corrida Collins. You'll find the pattern in MDK Field Guide number 18, Beginnings. And this is a great technique for any project where you're working in the round. We have absolutely buckets more tutorials and knitting hints and tips over on our website, so do click the link up top here to go and explore the resources that we have available for you. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel with the button in the bottom right hand corner here, and that way you'll be sure to know when we release our next video. Thanks ever so much for watching. Bye bye.